Hi, my name is Teasha Cable. I'm the Vice President of Business Development and Product Strategy here at Singularity University. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I'd like to talk today about the future of, and how Singularity University is refocusing the lens of its own future vision. Today, corporate and entrepreneurial leaders are asking, how do we look into the future and contemplate the implications of what we know will happen based on trends and anticipate how to mitigate the risks of our assumptions developed based on methodologies? Everyone wants to go beyond the basic formula, historical data analysis, prediction concepts and focal points, and forecast optimization. Leaders want to tap into a non-psychic version of precognition, and they don't care that it violates the principle of causality, that an effect cannot occur before its cause. This is why everyone is invested in the future of something or the other. This event, focusing on the future of human-machine interaction, realities, industries, and human-human interaction, is an example of how in touch everyone wants to be with the possibilities, and even closer to the impact of those possibilities. SU has taken a position that we not only want to take part in educating the world on exponential technologies, but also align communities to solve challenges, and more recently, highlighting the specific implications of these emerging technologies on our people and our planet. Let's explore how SU's future vision has taken shape relative to the topics of this event. So let's start with the future of human-machine interaction. So last week, you may have heard or read that the EU announced far-reaching regulations for AI. Now, many of the articles that were published in this news highlighted the regulatory onslaught that's headed in the direction of this technology. A couple of months ahead of the announcement, one of SU's experts, Alix Rübsaam, who focuses on philosophy of technology and artificial intelligence and oversees our research content, published our Q1 research publication, which is seen here. In it, the research team forecasted exactly these kinds of regulations and compared them to the introduction of GDPR. Here's what they wrote.
In Europe, the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, was implemented in May of 2018. It set the standards for safeguarding the processing and movement of European Union citizens' personal data, like letting people request to erase their data and requiring companies to protect consumer data and privacy against loss or exposure. The state of California passed the California Consumer Privacy Act, or CCPA, in January of 2020, giving consumers there the right to know how their data is being collected and the right to opt out of the sale of their personal information. Several other US states have proposed or enacted similar bills. These laws were a major disruption to the status quo for affected businesses. They not only had to completely redesign their data policies, they had to reach out to customers to provide details of how their data was being handled and take retroactive measures to ensure compliance with the new regulations. Similarly, when regulations around algorithmic bias are passed in the coming years, companies will be forced to scramble to comply, and likely at a greater cost than that of the data privacy measures. The benefits of being proactive rather than reactive by acknowledging and addressing bias in AI now will be beneficial in the ethical and reputational context, as well as the financial.
If this is of interest to you, please stick around for the Q&A. Alix will be available to answer questions. I share this as an example of how SU is looking beyond the moment and at the true implications of these technologies. It's crossing the chasm. There's the advanced nature of the technology, the impact, the laws, the regulations, and the people. So let's explore how SU is tackling the future of realities. In December of last year, Bernard Marr wrote an article in Forbes, and what he said was, over the next few years in VR, as in all fields of technology, we're going to see things that make what is cutting edge today look like Space Invaders. And although games will be amazing, the effects of this transformation will be far broader, touching on our work, our education, and our social lives. Well, in 2019, with its future vision, SU acquired Uncommon Partners to develop advanced capabilities leveraging AR, VR, and neuroscience. Today, the team is called S Labs, And what they're doing is they've developed several off-the-shelf neural-optimized training experiences. These experiences turn traditional training and educational approaches into exponential learning opportunities. So led by their president, Kyle Nell, they're bringing diversity and inclusion training to market first, and it uses real-time adaptation to a VR experience based on the brain states of the individual users. And then it's personalized to keep each individual in the best mental state for learning. For SU, this goes back to our goal of continuing to focus on our vision. So the ability to use applied neuroscience to create optimized environments for learning should have an incredible impact on organizations. And if we think about diversity and inclusion training as a baseline, I am excited to see what the insights and the analyzed data will tell us about the specific implications on people. It could be said that the future of industries is the future of companies. For companies, the concept of future is an aspect of planning opportunities or occurrences that might affect something. Generally, ratings or other methods to predict the likelihood of strategic success are faulty and rely heavily on a subjective correlation to people, and as a result, companies struggle to articulate planned future actions to drive outcomes across multiple levels of an organization. When SU acquired Uncommon Partners, we added the strategic narrative to our portfolio. This was developed by Amanda Manna, who's currently our VP of Strategy and Operations. The framework helps companies and stakeholders to see their own vision and consequently develop their own strategic narrative. Here's how Amanda describes it.
Every organization struggles with the same questions. What do we work on or not? How do we convince other people to work on it with us? And how do we know if it's working? We know that after decades of accelerating change, many organizations want to transform and are actively investing in new technology or launching innovation programs. We also know they are likely to fail. The truth is that the hardest problems aren't technology problems, but they're usually people problems. Human and organizational behavior issues frequently get in the way of making the space for innovation to work. Our strategic narrative process has been developed based on the last several decades of behavioral science research to create approachable, repeatable tools that directly address human limitations related to changing mindsets and behavior. Usually, when you hear about storytelling in a business setting, it's not really a story so much as a message or headlines on a slide. A true story has characters, setting, conflict, and resolution, a full narrative arc. When we hear a story, our brains release a little bit of dopamine, or the empathy hormone. That's why stories are so powerful for making the future real and inspiring the organization to take action to get there. We begin by working with organizations to research possible, probable future scenarios that are aligned with their objectives. Next, we work with the organization to synthesize those insights into a desired vision for the future. Finally, we turn that vision into a story and produce a creative artifact, such as a comic book, video, or VR experience that can be shared with others. Our goal? To engage key stakeholders today to take the first steps towards making that story real. We've used this approach with great success at some of the biggest companies in the world. While there are other frameworks that are useful for incremental change, this approach helps you think bigger, to envision what's possible, break down resistance, and prototype the future.
These tools can be leveraged and applied as broadly as an industry, a city, a country, and as narrowly as a company, a team, a product. If you have any questions or would like to talk to Amanda more about this framework, she'll be available in the upcoming Q&A. I believe I've saved the best topic for last, the future of human-human interaction. So in his book, The Third Wave, An Entrepreneur's Vision of the Future, Steve Case says, successful entrepreneurs are known to have an almost instinctive vision for what the future holds. Is that true? Or is it more true that entrepreneurialism is an expression of inspiration. And inspiration is like Red Bull. It gives you wings, and those wings give you the confidence to leap. I hope that future leaders, founders, and corporate executives alike remember that vision and execution are required in the future, and both rely on human-to-human partnership to be sustainable. People in all of the major sectors of healthcare, education, energy, transportation, government services, technology, and innovation will need to be skilled at partnership to make progress. Corporations need startups as partners. Startups will keep starting new things, and new things replace old things. Entrepreneurs can benefit from the insights of existing companies, and governments and educational institutions require partnerships with everybody to tackle big and broad challenges like creating jobs and building sustainable infrastructure. At SU, we call this community. The nearly 30,000 people in our global community serve as our thought leaders in human-to-human interaction. When I peruse the community and discover conversations about technology and impact, I'm reminded of how technology is enabled to do what it does. It's us. It's people. The future of anything should include creating companies, changing communities, and changing countries, and thereby changing lives. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and we're looking forward to your participation in the Q&A session. To learn more about how your organization can keep the implications of technology on the forefront and sharpen its own future vision, join us in the next session for a deeper dive. Amanda will talk about strategic narrative. Alix will join us to talk about algorithmic bias, and you can join the conversation about how we move our goal forward to positively impact the lives of 1 billion people in the next 5 years.